What is up? We are back with another video, and this time we're reviewing Soul. This is going to be a spoiler review. We'll kind of give our broad overall thoughts for the first few minutes. It'll be spoiler free, and then we'll go into spoilers. So, Nick, first off, what were your initial thoughts when you saw this film?
I don't think I've ever wanted to be witness to a film's pitch meeting more than this because the inherent concept of this film is so fascinating to me, and the fact that like we've seen films tackle like the afterlife and like the meaning of life before, but for like Pixar, the family friendly Pixar and Disney to do it, I can only imagine the way they must have like presented that like idea, like here's how we're going to talk about, you know, not wasting your life and like death and like we're gonna keep our family friendly brand. I think that's what makes this film arguably the most remarkable like Pixar film ever, just because like I love the Toy Story trilogy. I actually um like I still hold that to such a high degree, but it's also like Toy Story is like, what if the toys we played with were like alive and whatnot. Like that's a fairly easy premise to like build off of from, but here it's so tricky to talk about the things they talked about and keep that family friendly level. So that really impressed me. And the story is just really free. I wouldn't be surprised and or even mad if this got some sort of like screenplay nod, because I just think the balancing act they pulled off between that family friendliness and the themes they were touching on was really cool. And also just visually, this might be the most beautiful looking Pixar film ever, one of the most beautiful animated films. There's so many, just like some like the scene where there's one of the band scene near the end, like the concert scene. Like
Right.
I could see like the sweat on their foreheads, like I'd see like the little details and like individual strands of hair, and I was like, this is so beautiful to like look at. Like just beyond like it looks like good animation, just generally like beautiful shots. I would love to like hang on my wall or whatever. So beautiful story, beautiful animation. Just like really crazy effort from Pixar. Um, I haven't really been in touch with them since maybe Inside Out in 2015. So to experience their magic again was like a great way to cap off 2020.
Yeah, man. This is one of the movies that I think is made for kids but meant for adults, if that makes sense. Because it really has such a profound message. I think tackling like the meaning of life and how to find purpose are such big life questions that are, people who are the age of parents seeing this with their kids may be struggling with this question. You know what I mean? In your 30s, your 40s, trying to figuring out if you're doing what you love, or maybe you're not breaking out like you want to. And it deals with this and finding purpose in life and everything you do. Um, it's maybe the most adult animated film I've ever seen as far as theme. And what's so amazing about it is it stays for kids. It has enough action, and whoever was doing this must have been on LSD or some sort of trip, because there's no way you just create this whole world in your regular mind, because it's just amazing. It's gorgeous. The way they use lighting and the progress of the animation style is just so, it's almost photoreal.
Yeah.
And they have this advantage of being able to tweak the lighting to be absolutely perfect.
Yeah.
Um, and as someone who's never really wanted to get into animation, this film's like, you know what? Maybe if this is where they're going in the future, like I
Right.
might think about it. Like
Right.
and it brings both the child in me and the adult in me. Jamie Foxx is amazing as a voice actor in this film, and his character is so touching. But without getting into spoilers, that's kind of our overall thoughts. We're going to get into spoilers now. So, Dick, what were some of your favorite moments from this film?
I think I love just like classic, like this is like they use the classic like Pixar like formula of like, here's our core duo, here's like the world they're inhibiting, here are the rules of that world, and like they slowly like break them, and like stuff goes on. I thought that actually they were gonna stay in the spirit world the whole film. I didn't expect them to like return to the land of the living until later, but I just enjoyed the whole like the world they set up of like, here's where like lost souls go, and that this doesn't necessarily like mean they're dead. They just mean sort of like they become obsessive, like that the whole scene where like the moon wind like they save the one soul, and he's like some like stockbroker, and then he's like, oh my god, he's like re-enlightened or whatever. It was like really funny. It was like I thought there was like such a great spin on how like like real life like emotions and like how like things progress in like real life and how people progress. So I thought that was really funny. I thought that was really clever. I um I thought the whole like process of them like making souls was quirky element. There's a few things like just personal like philosophy. I was like, I don't know if that's not how necessarily how I believe, like like personalities or whatnot are born, but I do enjoy the idea of like my favorite, arguably my favorite joke in the whole movie is when like they send, they're like, all right, you 12 to self-absorbed, and the guy is like, we really should stop sending so many people through that one. Like I really like, I just enjoyed the world building of that, like that first act of just establishing like, oh, here's how this crazy thing works. And yeah, I'll hand it off to you there. We'll go through the film, but that's like my first initial thought.
Yeah. I think this movie does such a great job of making you pull for its characters. And as far as Jamie Foxx's character goes, right before he falls down the pothole, and almost dies, you're really pulling for him. You see the struggle of his life. He gets this full time offer to be a full time teacher, but it's like it's not quite what he wants. He loves teaching. He loves teaching, but he's like, I'm not sure if this is what I want to do. Um, but it takes him. He's so heartbroken because he thinks his dreams gone. But he meets this guy, this kid who he taught, which is very important that he taught this kid, gives him another opportunity, to maybe hit the big stage. And right before, he goes to the great beyond, as they call it, and he meets, gosh, what's the name of the actress? Is it Tina Fey?
As
That plays it?
22.
Yes, it's 22.
Yeah, it's Tina Fey.
And she does a great job of being this person who just like doesn't really believe in life, right? She's so skeptical about it. Um, and I was like, I love that character. I love the comedic elements of all the famous people she met. She's like, oh yeah, I drove Abraham Lincoln crazy when he tried to be my mentor, and they flashed all these different mentors that she just
Right.
drove absolutely nuts.
Mhm.
Um, but the relationship between the two of them, because Jamie Foxx's character is so different than anyone else she's met, right? Like
Mhm.
he's not actually trying to help her. And I love that dynamic and how that actually gets her to, this investment of, oh, I'll get you back into your life, right? Because I don't want to live. I'm good where I am.
Right.
And then what the brilliant thing they do is they go back from the great beyond into the real world, but they switch bodies. Jamie Foxx is now a cat, and Tina Fey is now inhibiting uh,
Joe's
Jamie
body.
Foxx, Joe's
Yeah.
body. And that scene in the barbershop is maybe my favorite scene in the whole movie.
Yeah, 100%. I that like of all like the little adventures they get up to in the real world in the second half, that yeah, the barbershop is yeah, our barbershop is my favorite. That was just I just love the exchange. They like she I love the whole like 22 just starts talking, and then like 5 minutes later everyone in the barbershop's like crowded around her, like listening intently. And then I love the story. I forget the character's name, but like the barber, like how he's like, yeah, like my life didn't work out, but that doesn't mean I'm unhappy. Like I thought that was just a really great scene.
Right. And it has such a personal meaning to Joe. And
Mhm.
it's so fascinating. It brought up this thing, when I go to the barbershop to get a haircut, um, how the barber's always asking you about like your life, right? But
Yeah.
how often do you ask them about theirs? Um,
Right.
it's just an interesting thing about people's like natural self-centeredness.
Right.
Um, and as someone who's lived for thousands of years, 22 has seen all different types of people who have lived in full life and talked to them. Um,
Mhm.
and so she has this very distinct view and kind of this wisdom that you wouldn't expect for someone who kind of acts childish throughout the film. Um, and she
Right.
says this stuff that's so profound in her listening, right? She's been listening for thousands of years. That's what she's great at, in
Mhm.
being able to talk to him. And Joe, you can see it in the cat's. They make you like the cat a believable character that you can see the emotion on the cat's face, right?
Right.
That Joe's playing a cat now. Um, that he's like coming to this realization as the barber's talking about how it's okay that, you know, he didn't necessarily get what he loves because he's still doing something that he loves, even though it wasn't necessarily his dream.
Right, right.
Um, and I think that's really meaningful to Joe when we talk about at the end the decision he makes.
Yeah.
So let's go there because
Mhm.
he plays in this concert. He's fantastic, right? They're like, we want you to do this again, and Joe doesn't want to do it. You know, he thinks teaching's what I'm supposed to be doing, right?
Mhm.
And that's kind of his arc. So, what was your thought on that final moment and sort of the conclusion it brought?
You mean like when he decides to like go back to like teaching, like the final like
Yes. Yeah.
I thought like it well, first I want to talk about the end of the concert because to me that had to be one of the most like effective like low points of like a hero, like the hero's journey that I've ever like seen. Because like we've seen it in Pixar films before, like when what's the kid's name? Russell gets taken and up, and like Mr. Fredrickson has to like go save him, and he's like taking stuff off the house. We've seen it in Toy Story like 10,000 times when one of the toys get taken. But like I loved how it was like it was the low point of the story, but it didn't for to some extent it wasn't like classified as low because like he got what he wanted. He did good. He performed well, and it's like again like speaking to the film's like really like emotionally intelligent writing, like the way he was kind of like I didn't feel anything. I didn't feel like it wasn't the game changing thing I expected. Like I loved how it was still like such an important like complex like moment for the story, and I think the story the what's the musician's name, the female one, was it like
Oh gosh, I can't
Dorothy?
remember a character's
Dorothy?
name. Yeah, maybe
Dorothy?
it's Dorothy.
Dorothy or something like that. And like the story she gave about like the fish in the ocean, like I thought that perfectly set up like everything about the film. Like yeah, I really enjoyed I really just enjoyed how they like set that up, and I felt that was like the natural way to end the film. It wasn't like, oh, like it changed with all this one chance meeting. It's like no, he just chose to reevaluate and like put a new perspective on how everything's been going. So I really enjoyed that. I kind of wish they didn't end the way they did. If you like, in the sense of like they showed him walking out of his house and it cuts there to credits. If I'm remembering that correctly, I kind of
Hmm.
would have, me personally, I kind of would have preferred like a I don't know montage or something. I mean, they already had like a monologue playing over the montage, but like I would have just enjoyed him like he's going out to dinner with his mom. He's still like playing music like on his own, but just like a different setting. Like he's like him and his students are now like excited, like visibly like excited and into it. I don't know. I just remember like getting taken out like when they cut there, even though it was like the end of the movie, just being like, oh, like that was a bit sudden. But like on a story level, like I think it was the best way to end it, and like the way to like communicate all the themes and what they were saying about his character. I think that was the best way to end it. I just wish they maybe just like little few more scenes to help like properly like pad it out.
Interesting, because I feel I disagree on that. I feel like that was the
Okay.
perfect way to end it. Um,
Okay.
because to me, it's about him making a decision. Because the
Mhm.
whole time he can't make a decision. Um, and so I think once he's finally made his decision, he knows what he's going to do. He has confidence in what life is. Him walking out the door with that new sense of purpose, I feel like to me, that's the perfect way to end because we know where he's going. He's going back to teach. So
Fair
I
enough.
think it's one of those things that they've already shown you what he's going to do. And I think doing that again, to me at least, would have been repetitive.
Fair enough.
Uh,
Yeah.
but let's talk about the final scene where he goes to 20 back to the great beyond with 22 and finally,
Mhm.
you know, convinces 22 to get her full personality. She gets the little um, patch and take the
Yeah.
jump, and she's scared to do it. And what was your thought on that scene where the two of them jump together?
I really enjoy that for the sole fact that like we didn't see where 22 ended up. Like
Hmm.
that was for me that was like the perfect way to end her story. It was sort of like we don't know if she will be like necessarily okay. Like we don't know if she'll like everything will work out for her after because that's not how like life works. But like just the knowledge of like she was willing to finally take that leap into like the good, the bad, and the ugly of it all. Like I thought that was like the perfect way to cap it off. I really love that he jumped with her and he was like, I'll go with you as far as I can. Like that was like that was just another great like exclamation point to their dynamic. Like he was helping her, she was helping him, and now here he is finally like you know one last time being there for her. I thought that was like a really effective moment. That was another high point for me, like high up point moment, probably my top three moments in the film, just because it worked perfectly. And again, like I just love that they didn't show where she ended up. It was just like she's out there. That's all we know.
Yeah, and I mean, I can't imagine being that kid's parent because that personality's been developed for 2,000 years. I mean,
Right.
that's going to be a lot to deal with, but
Mhm.
it's a real touching end to 22's character. Um, and I think it's really fitting for the story. Now,
Right.
let's talk about like some things that maybe didn't work for you or just some sort of moments that kind of were iffy. Was there anything that really struck you like that?
I'm trying. I feel like I can't recall anything specific. Maybe talking out will jog something from it. I feel like if there was something that like I was off about, it was in the second half. I do remember having a sense of like this is taking a bit long. Like every moment, every stop they made, like was had a purpose, and so I can't like say like they could have cut this, they could have cut that, but I don't know. Maybe they. I just felt like the second part in like when they were like in the real world maybe ran a bit too long, but also at the same time I was either like enjoying myself or like I was like an important moment, like the whole pizza thing, like where like they kept like he had to go get her food or whatever, like maybe they could have cut that, but also at the same time like why would you? It was such a great like character moment for 22. Um, I'll just say like the first act I was like definitely more into and just like you know we have our like we have our main character. Here's the problem we have. Like here's this new world that we're dealing in. I kind of wish we explored that a little more. Like, but like, at the same time, like I'm okay with what we got. So nothing specific necessarily to say. But if any, it was probably just during the second half where I felt it was dragging a little. But that's about it.
Yeah, I think that's a fair critique. I think for me, it drags maybe a little bit in kind of that build up to where they go both of them get caught and go back to the great beyond. I think
Mhm.
maybe it's a little slow, but I rewatched part of this film and I was like, I don't really know what you could take out.
Yeah,
Um,
that's the thing.
so I think this film to me is just it's not perfect, but I think it's one of my favorites, if not maybe my favorite Pixar movie I've seen. Which is high praise considering some of the films like The Incredibles, any of you pick a Toy Story film,
Right.
um, or Up.
Right.
Some of my favorite films, animated or not animated of all time. So let's talk about that. For me, for you, does this is this one of your favorite animated films? And then we'll get into our where it ranks this year.
Yeah, I think it's definitely one of my favorite animated films, one of my favorite Pixar films. I don't know if I would put it like for me personally, I wouldn't as of right now, I wouldn't say it's better than I count the Toy Story trilogy as one thing. Like I wouldn't say it surpasses that. I mean, maybe it will in the future, but I would say it's definitely like up there. Like it's like made this one personally like I connected with a lot. This one was just something that I'm like the ambition of it. This is probably arguably the most ambitious Pixar film like ever like made. Are you just like trying to tackle the subject matter in their family friendly lens? So I have to give so much credit to that boldness. So I would definitely say it's one of my favorite animated films. Toy Story trilogy still beats it out, but it's definitely like I said in the beginning, like the most connected I felt to Pixar and like maybe since like Inside Out in 2015.
Yeah, so let's get into where it ranks in
Mhm.
the end of the year list. So we're filming this in the very beginning of 2021, but we're talking about 2020
Mhm.
and where it ranks on that list. So where does it rank for you, or do you need me to go first so you have a little time to figure it out?
I'll go first. For right now, honest to God, I'll say it's at my second. Like it again, like I don't want to like keep repeating myself, but I think on a technical level, the animation has never looked more beautiful or realistic. It's so incredible to see how um like and like Inside Out was like a really impressive like visual film, and I personally haven't seen Coco just yet, but I also seen like clips and whatnot. And I know that was a very beautiful film, but like just to see like that like still that transition in the past 5 years to how much detail was in this film. Like technically, it's incredible, and again, I think the story it's just it's so wonderful. It's so funny. It's so quirky. Maybe it adheres a little too much to the Pixar formula, but it's also like for what they wanted to communicate and discuss in the way that they did. I think that's just really incredible. So yeah, I would say it's ranked around second, maybe drops down, but I don't think it'll leave my top five. I think that's for sure. It'll stay in, kind of bouncing around there for me.
Yeah, I have it right now around number 5. I have it at 6, but if I'm being honest, there are films that I have a connection to, like Palm Springs and The Invisible Man, that are probably going to move down my list as I think about it more. And honestly, as we're talking about it and going through the film, I don't think there's any way it's not moving ahead of those films, even though I love those films. I agree. I think it'll probably be my number 3. I love The Sound of Metal and I love Small Axe, Mangrove. Those are probably my 2 favorite films of the year. It slots right behind there, and it honestly could move to number 1 or maybe number 3 or 4 at the worst. Unless
Gotcha,
there's
gotcha.
something spectacular still this year, which I hope there is. Um, it's not going out of my top 5 or 6 films. It is
Gotcha.
that good. I want to give a quick shout out. We don't talk about animated directors when we talk about best directors, and I think they deserve to be in that conversation. And Pete Docter does. He's the director of Soul, Inside Out, Up, Wally, Monsters Inc. All films that, like,
Yeah,
if you're a child of any of those eras, you grew up adoring. So I think he
right.
deserves to be in that conversation of one of the best directors working today, even though, people may say he's
I'm
an animated
yeah,
director. I mean, come on.
right. I mean, to just to have like walk around like just to be the guy that said like, yeah, I made Monsters Inc. Like I've been like, you're a legend already. Like I
Right.
love that film, but then he went ahead and made freaking Wall. It was a Wally, Up, Inside Out, and now this. Like that's be one of the most incredible like resumes I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, and I think with that, that wraps up our review of Soul. You can check it out on Disney Plus. Let us know what you thought of the movie down in the comment section below. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the video, and we'll see you next time.
Peace out.